Bonjour, Ogama Beneshe, Anigam Nanjaba, Mako Nedodum, Anishinabeg Minwa, Haudenosaunee Da, East Lansing, Michigan Da. My English name is Don Lyons. I am Bear Clan on my father's side. I'm a citizen of the Leech Lake Nation in northern modern-day Minnesota. And my mother is from Six Nations, Ontario. She's Mohawk, so I'm part of the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy, and she's Turtle Clan on that side. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, here, and I currently live in East Lansing, Michigan. So I wanted to share just a quick, I guess a quick little personal story about myself. Way back now, as my kids would say, back in the olden times. So now, I was a part of the Dream Seekers youth program. That was a part of the first cohort that was here in the American Indian Health and Family Services. So that was Thurman Bear was a big influence and a mentor for me growing up. Some people who work here at the center now, Tina James is another original Dream Seeker member. And so that was, man, I don't want to date too much, but as I say, early 90s, that was the time frame for the Dream Seekers. And looking back now, I'm 37. I've been able to go to college, get my undergrad, graduate high school, go to college, got my master's, and I've been doing federal contract work, working with Indian country around suicide prevention, mental health, and wellness. And I came back here for a short time to be behavioral health director. So within the last, 15 years, I've had some really awesome experiences working with and for Indian country in urban and reservation, and I've been really blessed to do that. And thinking back in my early teens, pre-teens to early teens, being a part of the Dream Seekers was really fundamental. Growing up in Detroit, we don't get necessarily access to go to ceremonies or take walks in the woods and look at medicines, but doing that program, they brought those people in, and they had impacts on all our lives. I can think of a handful of us that are now out there doing some really awesome work. Jeff Gargoshian is another one that now he's building incredible tunnels and doing some engineering things that are just magnificent. I went to school with him at Michigan State, and we went to college. And thinking back, I don't think Dream Seekers, without that foundation, I don't think we would have known that graduating high school was a option, a potential, let alone going to college, and then getting a master's and then be able to give back to the community. And I also remember all the planning that went behind the scenes to take us. We did community service, so we would during the summer program we would clean and cut elders' lawns, and we would go visit with them, take them food. We would go to powwows, we would go on field trips, we would go to conferences, and these things all had a really big impact on me growing up in Detroit. For a lot of our community members, there's nothing, unfortunately, unique to my story growing up in alcoholism, drug abuse, various forms of violence. It was, being a drug dealer, going to jail, or gang banging, was the options growing up, and to be a man. And so Dream Seekers was helpful to understand there's different ways of being, and you had pathways towards that, and kind of planted seeds. And it's funny that you don't think about that until you get a little bit older. So I hope me just sharing this little bit of the story, and people who are watching can understand, both the people who are supporting these youth programs, that they're making a big difference, and for the youth that sometimes you feel like you're being dragged to events, because that we felt like that too, like, oh no, we're doing it again, oh no, they're doing this smudge again, oh no, they're doing this again. That, just have fun with it, and it has long-term benefit, and there's seeds that are being planted. So now I'm on the board for American Indian Health and Family Services. So I went from a youth, a community member, part of the Dream Seekers that propelled me to college, to the career I'm doing now, working across Indian country. I've been able to do work internationally with indigenous communities, and now I'm able to kind of give back in my own way, and grateful and blessed to be on the board for American Indian Health and Family Services. So it's been a really cool journey so far, and really blessed. So I look forward to continuing to do that and reaching and touching and working with the community back in Detroit, and especially our young people. So, miigwech. I want to share a story on the Windigo. And the Windigo is the spirit of excess in Anishinabeg. And so, like all of our indigenous stories, they have teachings behind them. There's purpose behind our stories. That's how we communicate the world around us. And I love this story, and I also love all our stories because it takes complex, sometimes social dynamics, scientific knowledge into a form that's accessible to our young folks. And it's, entertaining, and there's a lot of different characters in our story. So this story I've been thinking a lot about is the Windigo, the spirit of excess. So, like all good stories, it doesn't start with once upon a time. It starts with a long time ago. There was communities that lived together. And around here, they would be in the woods. And this particular community lived a pretty good life. They worked together, they supported each other, they grieved with each other, they did everything together. And at certain points of time, they started noticing that there was a little less harvest. There was a little less animals to harvest. And even sometimes some of the family or community members were lost and never came back. And so they called a council. And the council came together and they talked about these things as a community. What did you see? What did you hear? What do you think about what's going on? And so they had the council, and they thought they could make a plan, and they developed their plan and thought everything was good. So they went back to doing their lives. Again, they started noticing even more of the plant life now. The animals were gone. More of their community members were gone. And so again, they called the council together. And the elders of the council said, we know what's happening here. We've seen this before in our communities. We lived a long time. We're able to see things, and this is what we think. It's the spirit of excess. The Windigo has come back. And the shudder went through the community. And people said, what is a Windigo? Hearing whispering. And the elder said the Windigo is a human being, but it's a human being that has grown so much in excess that its greed is so massive that it keeps wanting more and more and never satisfied. So it eats and takes everything and leaves nothing for no one else. And so the people got really scared and said, what are we going to do? And so they talked for a long time about what they're going to do. Everyone, including the elders, were scared. And they were just talking about, oh, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. All the negative things that they saw and anticipated was coming up, until these two young people stood up and said, so what are we going to do about it? And people stopped, and they didn't have any answers for that. And so again, these young people stepped up and said, okay, this is what we think we should do. And they said, we're going to go reason with the Windigo. And if we can't reason with the Windigo, we're going to build a coalition of all our relatives here, the winged people, the four-legged, the insect people, the plant people, and we're going to take down the Windigo. And the elders looked at each other in the community and said, we had no other plan. Let's listen to these young people. And so the young people, in their brave way, went out and sought out this Windigo. And during their journey, they asked the winged people to help search for the Windigo where it lived. They helped the insects to make a pathway. They asked the plant people to create a pathway for them to get there. And finally, they came up to the Windigo, and they yelled in, hey, Windigo! Ambe Mampi! Come out here! And so the Windigo come marching out and says, what do you want? And the young people said, we want to reason with you. We want to see why you're taking everything around here. What can we do to make a compromise? And the Windigo said, there's no compromise. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat you. I'm going to sleep right now, and I'll come back and I'm going to eat you. And so at that point, the young people knew that there was no negotiating with the Windigo, that they had to build this coalition, or else it would be the demise of their community. And so they went back to the council, and they said, we need to bring the coalition. And so they went off, and they talked to the winged people, and the winged people agreed that they were impacted by the Windigo. they went to the plant people, and the plant people agreed that they were impacted by the Windigo. The insect and the four-legged also agreed. And they said, well, we'll come together to help whatever is needed. So again, they came together and they planned. And one of the favorite foods of the Windigo is blood soup. And so the community said, we need to lure the Windigo here. And the four-legged stepped up and cut a little bit of their paw and put a little bit of blood in there. And said, we'll use a little bit of our blood. And then the two-legged did the same. Pretty soon that pot was full of blood, and the blood was smelling. And the plant people said, we'll build a lodge so we can have this council with the Windigo. So the tree people sacrificed themselves to build that lodge. The plant people said, we can make this lodge stronger if we wrapped ourselves around that. And so the plant people wrapped themselves around that. The insect people said, we'll move away so it's nice, a pathway for the Windigo to come so he knows where to come. And the wind people said, we'll go hunt for the Windigo and let him follow us in. And so they all worked together. They all had their roles in this operation. And so the Windigo came and saw all the people and wanted to just eat all the people and all the animals, but it's all the blood soup. And this is the spirit of excess, so it can't control itself. So it immediately went to that soup. It could barely fit into that lodge, and it just waddled into that lodge sideways and saw the soup and started eating the soup, just a massive amount of way. Everything is going everywhere. And when he was done, he said, I'm going to go out of this lodge, and I'm going to tear this lodge down, and I'm going to eat everything I see here. And so the Windigo did that. The Windigo put down this big pot, and it started ready to move out. And the part of the plan was the plant people, they had thorns. And they said, we're going to stretch ourselves as far as possible. And we're going to put thorns on the doorway. And so all the people ran out. And the Windigo, again, is getting hungry again because it's never satisfied. And so all the people and all the animals, so it's going to start moving faster. And so the Windigo started moving out of the door. And as it moved out of the door sideways, it popped. And there was little bugs that flew around. And those bugs we know today as mosquitoes. So that's the story of the Windigo. And I want to leave you with 3 questions to think about and process when you hear that story. Is what things did you see in that story? What were the people doing? What did the situation look like when I was telling that story? And the second question is, what did you hear? What did you hear when everyone was murmuring about not knowing what's going to happen? What did you hear when the young people stood up and said something? What did you hear when the other winged and insect people were impacted by the same thing? And the third thing is, what did you feel? What did you feel when you heard the Windigo was impacting the community? What did you feel when the youth stood up and said, this is what we got to do, and asked questions and no one answered? And they took the charge. What did you feel when the Windigo was ready to eat all the people? And what did you feel when the elder talked about that the Windigo is a part of us? And we're all Windigo in our own way. So I think that story just really resonates with me during this particular time that we're in. And I hope you get some teachings out of that and start developing your own coalitions to keep your families and communities safe. So, miguch.